This edition of the Rhode Island Spotlight is made possible by the Washington Trust Company. It is the food, of course, that has drawn tens of thousands of people here over the past 3 decades. That and a bed for those who had nowhere else to go. In 1987, Westerly Area Rest Meals, or WARM, began as a volunteer effort by a coalition of area churches. It has evolved into so much more, and this year will serve 2,300 people, primarily in Westerly, but also surrounding communities in Rhode Island and nearby Connecticut.
As I call it, a comprehensive social service agency.
WARM's executive director, Russ Partridge, has overseen a dramatic transformation of this organization since his arrival here in 2008, including the construction of this brand new building 3 years ago, as well as some expansion and revitalization of existing programs. The new building includes a spacious and well-equipped kitchen, with storage areas adjacent to it.
We had a vision of a facility where people could come and be treated by using our values of compassion, hope, and dignity, and with accountability in the time that they're here.
It looked a lot different even a decade ago. The administrative offices were housed in a bakery building and the shelter in what used to be a bar back in the day. WARM started out as a soup kitchen and an emergency shelter. This year, the center will serve 35,000 meals, lunch and dinner 7 days a week, and on any given night, will house 80 people across the area. 13 men and 6 women in the shelter on Spruce Street, 6 apartments in the new building next door for residents with disabilities, and 13 off-site apartments, primarily for homeless families.
As we've grown, people have begun to look at the WARM Center. It's now called the WARM Center. It's always been the WARM Shelter, but we changed the name simply because I think it begins to change people's perspective. The community now looks at WARM and goes, this is a really valuable asset to the community.
Like many social service agencies, WARM is catering as much to the working poor as it is to the homeless.
And that's one of the reasons that we run the types of programs that we do. It's really meant to help people to meet their budget or to supplement their budget. If I can come to the WARM Center with, with my partner or with my children and get and be able to get a meal, it's something that I can now use. I can use those financial resources to pay my utilities or pay my rent.
Russ had spent 10 years moving up the ladder at Crossroads in Providence, but 8 years ago was ready for a change. He was willing to take on a case manager's position at WARM that would mean a huge pay cut, but the board saw the possibility early on for a transition of leadership. Reverend Gene Berry, who in 1990 became WARM's first executive director, worked with, then handed over the reins to Russ in 2012, just as construction on the building that ultimately would bear her name was getting underway. Neighbors who once objected to having a shelter in their midst now look favorably at a state-of-the-art facility that stands out on Spruce Street.
Most people walk in and go, oh my God, this is a homeless shelter. But that in itself builds somebody's hope when they're walking into some place that really reflects how we feel about the population and the clientele that we serve.
I never knew WARM was here, ever.
Tarny Maggs grew up in the Ashaway section of neighboring Hopkinton, then later Westerly. When her children were grown, she returned to an alcohol and drug habit she'd had before she became a mom.
I lost my apartment just up the road, and I made a call, and they said, we can come get you right now. And I was like, oh my God.
She doesn't mince words. The WARM Center, Tarny says, saved her life, literally.
Had I not come here, I would have still used, because I was couch surfing. All my friends were active users. So no matter how much I tried, and I had tried in the past to stop, I couldn't do it by myself. I was provided the opportunity to go to as many meetings as I wanted. And I applied what I learned at those meetings. And life just started changing one day at a time. Little baby steps ended up being huge steps. 8 years ago, I would have never dreamed my life would be like this.
Tarney now works as a treatment assistant at AdCare in North Kingstown and is constantly talking up the Warm Center.
Some people have nowhere to go, especially women. It's really, really hard for a woman to get sober. And I'll talk to these people, and sometimes I'll say, you need to call Warm. And you can tell them Tarney said to call.
I've always had a problem with drinking.
Nearly a decade ago, Joe Glennon was in a car accident that aggravated some old injuries. He also lost his job and his apartment, all within a short period of time.
And I pretty much just gave up on life. And I lived in my car for about 2 years and drank every single day. That's all I did.
Joe came to Warm because he knew he could get 2 good meals a day. And he met Russ Partridge, who asked some tough questions.
When are you going to stop this nonsense? When are you going to stop living like this? I said, really, I thought there was no way out. I thought I was stuck that way. Until one day, it just, I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I came in, I said to him, I can't do it anymore. I can't live like this anymore.
Joe has turned his life around and gone back to college, and he credits the center for helping to make it happen.
They don't just give you direction and say, now go. They give you direction and they stay with you. And they say, okay, what you doing here? What are you doing there? Maybe try this venue and try that venue. And that's what I got from them.
Today, I have a bank account. I have an apartment that I pay for. I have a car that's registered and insured, and I got a legal license today.
Basic stuff that a lot of people take for granted, but you realize how special that is when you get it.
I do. And I live within my means.
Joe has been sober for 6.5 years, and last summer, he joined the Warm Center's board of directors.
What do you tell the people in this community about the significance that this place has had in the community?
They don't realize all the other things that go on, the community outreach. They don't realize that we go out and we talk to people who are living out in the woods, who are living in abandoned quarries, who are hiding away from the general public. People basically really don't want to see the homeless, They don't want to see the dirty underside of their community.
Where would you be had this center not been there for you back in 2009?
Dead. In a hospital someplace. Not knowing my own name. Lost, unknown. Wouldn't have been nice.
Russ says the community has been tremendously supportive, like these volunteers making some of the more than 4,000 bag lunches that will go to kids in area summer camps over the course of the season.
In coming here, I was and continue to be blown away by the generosity that exists in the community, not only financially, but also in the volunteers and the support that the organization gets.
And many businesses have chipped in too. For example, this Subway in Westerly and a pizza shop over the line in Pawcatuck, Connecticut donate meals every week. Then there are the donations to the center's Attire for Hire room.
The community, I should say, provides good used clothing for folks who are not only here in shelter, but also living out in the community. It's a place where if you're going for a job interview, you can come and get a suit. You can come and get a dress shirt, a dress. When people become homeless, they lose everything. And so to be able to come to some place that will help you to be able to be and feel very positive in going in for a job interview is really, it's a great resource.
If you really want it, you can get it here. This place has so many opportunities to get better, so many resources here to help you.
I have a new life today, and I want to go forward with it. I was kind of reborn at the age of 50. And I always look at it that way, born again. And I don't mean that in a religious way or anything else. I was literally born again at the age of 50. And everything is new to me now. But I know where I was, and I don't want to go back to that place.
We see a lot of sadness. We see people who have experienced a lot of trauma. But on the other side, we get to see our successes. The fact that we have come to this beautiful property and built a facility that really represents our feeling towards our clientele.
Russ says it's been a great partnership with the community and public officials in Westerly and the surrounding towns.
The nice thing that we've been able to do is educate folks about poverty and about homelessness, and I think they recognize that if WARM and other social service agencies in this area were not here, they would have a serious problem with poverty.
In Westerly, Jim Hummel for the Rhode Island Spotlight.
So when we count them, okay, 10, 20, 30, 40. We need 2 more.